Abs are made in the kitchen, right? Not in the gym, right? And people think it's all diet and exercise. That's another misnomer. Nothing is worse than a human being that's trying to outrun their bad diet in the gym. They're going to stress themselves out. They're going to burn out, and they're going to gain more weight than they did before. You have to eat clean first and foremost. People say it's more expensive to eat organic food. What's the price of cancer? You either pay now, pay later, pay the farmer, or pay the doctor. It's your choice. And so your body requires real food.
What specific incident inspired you to be so passionate about sharing your message about building a foundation for health?
Well, I think I was born this way. I was, as we all are, children of God, and we have tremendous gifts imbued by the power of the Creator. We have the creation principle inside of us. We can create worlds, right? What does that mean? If you put the penis in the vagina and you impregnate a woman, you can create an Elon Musk that wants to go to Mars and wherever else, right? So who knows what Star Wars stuff's going to come out of that? But literally, we can create worlds, right? We have the power of creation inside of ourselves. And so when we understand that and we start to utilize that, we can create health. We can create peace and harmony and start going in the directions of our dreams. And we are told not so much the opposite, but basically the opposite, because it's sit down, shut up, consume, and comply, and you'll get a good job and you'll get to advance. And if you are smart enough and complying enough, you get to be a doctor or a lawyer. And most doctors out there are just drug pushers. They're pencil pushers with a degree and a lab coat telling you to take this poison. It's all legal and stuff. And lawful are two different things. And then you've got the lawyers making white collar crime legal. They're making genocide and these other elements legal, right? Poisoning the commons legal, right? Robert Kennedy Jr., the whole body of work as a advocate. He was working on mercury in tuna, the tainted fish, and that it was affecting people. And these women with vaccine-injured children kept on showing up. Oh, you fight corporate crime against mercury. Well, have you looked at this? And look at my maimed child. Can you look at this? And he's like, whoa, that's too out of my league. But these women kept coming, until he finally looked at it. And now he has a whole body of work dismantling all the propaganda and the rubbish around vaccines and what they do to human beings, especially the thimerosal and the adjuvants, the mercury that is put in the, forgot how I got off on that tangent, but forget something about either excellence or, well, there you go. He's an attorney, right? So he's actually using his God-given gifts inside the legalese system to show how corrupt it is. So absolutely corrupted. And obviously, he's been banned on social media, or at least he was last year. And so what did we roll out last year? Vaccines that hadn't been tested, right? And so, of course, that's going to mess up profits. And so they just ixnayed him from the internet, right? But why don't you go research his information? I've helped fund a film, 1986 Act. In 1986, all vaccine manufacturers were exonerated from liability. There's no other industry or corporation that's exonerated from liability from their products. That should tell people a lot. You should also, if you have any questions about these vaccines whatsoever, you should go on the VAERS, VAER, the adverse reaction, and it's exponentiated. There was only 4,000 reported deaths of brain damage and lawsuits that have been won since 1986 up into 2020. And now, just since 2020, I think there's been something like 19 or 20,000. These are documented, severely underreported, VAERS, right? 1%, right? Severely underreported, and it's exponentially grown just in the last couple of years. So VAERS, that out if people are really, because here's the thing, the level of self-medication and alcoholism and drug addiction, you want to check out on many levels, because on the soul level, you're being absolutely lied to. And so you want to be as cognizant as you possibly can to understand the world that you live in. So you're not hoodwinked so much, so you don't feel like shit. So you go out and self-medicate. You really can be aware and you can stand to be counted. And the first thing that you really want to look into, because the food industry and the medical industry are intertwined, right? They invest in the poison, and then they invest in the poison solution, right? The solution that they sell you, these magic pills. And so, the first books I read when I was getting sober was a book on biochemistry and how imbalances can create imbalances inside of our body, nutritional imbalances create imbalances inside of our mind, and then we go out and self-medicate. So one of the first things I did was I got down with my mineralization, vitamins, minerals, enzymes, really flooded my body with deep nutrition so I could stay somewhat balanced, right? We live in an imbalanced world. So as good as I can do with the amount of pollution that's in the atmosphere, in the food, in the water, etc. And so, because once knowledge applied is power. So knowledge is power, but knowledge applied is real power. It's integrating and embodying the ideas and understanding. Well, lo and behold, you start looking at the British Soil Association website, and the soil is depleted. So it's hard to get the challenging to get the right mineralization, especially if you're eating the commercial food supply. And so really delving deep into nutrition, because you are what you eat, is an axiom that's not going away anytime ever. And if you consider yourself an addict, then what are you eating, right? What is creating this addiction? And sugar is no different inside the brain. I think there's been a bunch of research than heroin addiction.
Right.
So the same thing can be said about food additives. Same thing can be said about additives and or the way they process these foods to bring them to market. These create imbalances in the body. And all the ancient sages have said, walk the middle path. A balanced life, find that level of balance. And we are clearly out of balance to the degree the environment is. And again, let's go back to statistics. 9 out of 10 are metabolically dysfunctional. 70% of the American people are obese or overweight. What's the statistics on mental health? We got major issues, and suicide amongst men is going through the roof. There's a major problem here. And so I want to get back down to fundamental principles, and that is what my book is all about. In physics, they call them first principles. You can't go from here, or a false premise does not make a true conclusion. So you can't base any of your hypotheses on faulty ground. And so we have to go back down to the basics. What does the human body need? The human body needs oxygen. Human body needs sunlight. Human body needs minerals, vitamins, and enzymes. And how do we get that? From food grown in nutritious soil. We need optimal breathing mechanics, diaphragm, pelvic floor, transverse abdominis. This needs to be integrated, not crunches. And so we get these little six-pack ab little muscles. That's not the way you develop that. Your abs poke out. Abs are made in the kitchen, right? Not in the gym, right? And people think it's all diet and exercise. That's another misnomer. It's worse than a human being that's trying to outrun their bad diet in the gym. They're going to stress themselves out. They're going to burn out, and they're going to gain more weight than they did before. You have to eat clean first and foremost. People say it's more expensive to eat organic food. Oh, yeah, it's the price of cancer. You either pay now, pay later, pay the farmer, or pay the doctor. It's your choice. And so your body requires real food, not garbage. If you're sticking linear static inputs into a dynamic harmonic system, it will create chaos. And that is what we have in the world today. As above, so below. We've got chaos inside the human body, and then just flip on the news. There's chaos in the world.
Right, which is all propaganda. Yeah, I think speaking to mental health and addiction, it's all the things that you're talking about. For someone to be, we all want to be happy and live a fulfilled life. And in order to be happy and feeling good, I know that I need enough sleep. I need to eat the right food. I need to move my body. I need sunlight. I need to surround myself with people that have what I want. People that are not the victims, people that are responsible, people that are doing great things in the world, making a contribution, creating value. When I surround myself with those types of people, I put myself in the right environment with people that are doing the things that I want, people that have what I want, essentially. And that creates more accountability for me too, to continue living that type of a life, because I'm surrounded by people that are living that type of a life. And all the things that you talk about in your book, Ripped at 50, are just completely aligned with the way that I like to live my life. And I see it in you, and I see it in me, and I see it with the people that I surround myself with, is like, just like, hey, this is what I want. I don't want to be at the doctor taking medications that are prescribed to me to hopefully feel better. It's not what I want. It's taking the proactive approach to it.
Yeah, I don't want to be subservient to the man, right? We already are for transportation, for and functionality inside government, et cetera. And so for the most part, I don't want my biology being hooked up. And lo and behold, they're already trying to do that with these vaccines, with the hormone replacement. Every woman that I know that has children that's over 30 gets on thyroid medication.
To get a free copy of the 12-step guide that I created for you, click on the link in the description below.
And if you really want to have challenges, abdicate your hormonal responsibility and balance to the systems, to the medical industry, because they definitely want your money and they want you maimed and sick for life, so you buy their products. And again, a lot of that I just said in that last sentence comes from Robert Kennedy Jr.'s research into these products from Yale and Harvard. Again, that event that I went to, that movie he was producing, had all the scientific data on that from Harvard and Yale. And so these vaccines are designed to maim you as a child and keep you as a customer for life. And a lot of the autoimmune issues, they don't manifest until later in life. And so down to bedrock for whatever you're sticking in the pie hole or the bloodstream. Don't sell yourself short. Don't let them in the bloodstream, baby.
Okay, let's talk about sobriety. You were a wreck for a while. And so how did you go from being a wreck to having the life you have today?
Well, it's been a process, and can be all doped up on anger, right? We could be doped up on self-pity, right? And those neuropeptides, they create chemical reactions inside the body, and those chemical reactions have other on the human body, and we can get caught up again back into that self-medicating. And so I feel better and more in balance when I'm balanced. And alcohol throws me out of balance. A hangover. But here's the news flash. I call it a food hangover or a sleep hangover. If I don't get the proper sleep now at 57 years old, I'm not going to be my cool self. I'm going to be short-tempered always, but you have the potential that when you're stressed out and when you don't have balance and homeostasis in your body, then you can go off the handle. You can get into self-medication, etc. So most of my lifestyle, because I'm very yang in general, so most of my practices are very yin. They're internal. I do a lot of qigong, yoga, go to the gym every day. I do some form of water therapy, whether it's hot or cold or both. I take mineral baths as well, especially with the magnesium being depleted in our soil. So all my work is to work towards balance and homeostasis myself. And so you don't need, my meditation teachers used to call that, what was the word he used to use? You don't need alterants in your life, right? Because you have balance and homeostasis. You feel good. I think most of the time when we're medicating, it is to feel good, right? Whether we want to kill the mental pain.
It's the addiction solution. And so whether it's a drink, a drug, gambling, sex, food, the internet, the news, it's the solution.
Yeah, we're addicted to those polypeptides. And so funny you bring up the news. They are all addictive substances. I think the biggest addiction that we have is pornography, right? We grew up objectifying women. I can't even see that. It's been presented to me so many times, and I guess I probably need to break it down philosophically for myself, but I don't think that I objectify women, yet I've got years of pornography images inside of my head, and I catch myself looking at tits and ass, like addicted. Boom, polypeptide, right? And I had no awareness about this until I got married, right? And then I was like, whoa, I'm married now, but that's not slowing me down at all. And then I got into pornography, And I started dismantling it and understanding it better, and the television programming that we have. And so divide and conquer is the oldest trick in the book. They don't want us looking at those who are in control of the food, of the drugs, of the transportation, and who's creating the media. They want us fighting amongst ourselves. And so look what we have today with all the race baiting and the toxic masculinity, male against female. So we don't look at the systems that have been built around us to make us miserable. And so I forgot how I got off on that tangent too, but I think it just comes back to, baseline of balance and finding those tools that work for you. And community builds immunity to bullshit, right? If you got a strong community. The problem again is that we've all been so programmed to believe the TV. I was on pornography. That's right. So the pornography can throw us out of balance. I've become friends with women and I've been celibate for a couple of years and really building long-term relationships, women. And what I see is oftentimes we settle, right? Because hookup culture in our world is pretty dominant, right? And so I think inside some of the religious, you still have sex for marriage, right? Some of the Christian fundamental beliefs and stuff like that. And again, I don't get caught up in anything that I say, whether it's right or wrong. It's a balance of all these ideas and what you can put inside your own lifestyle to keep you balanced. So my point is, so I'm not making Christianity bad or good or trying to sell a religion to anyone is my point. And so the point is that I do believe that traditional values value in today's world. Because if you do have sex with a human being, number one, you can get them pregnant. If you don't have the finances and the tribe is gone, so your parents aren't going to take care of them, your grandparents aren't going to take care of the children, unless you have a family unit, which are very rare these days. And so you're not going to be supported. And then you have to work because that's the way they designed feminism. They pushed everyone into the workplace, right? That was by design. Gloria Steinem worked with the CIA. They don't put that on the news, but that's exactly what happened. They want two people paying into the tax structure. So who's watching the children? Who are the natural nurturers of the children? Why do we have childhood obesity and childhood cancer rates going through the roof? And so the women to watch the food and the children and cultivate and nurturing for them. But everybody's working now. So who's watching the children? The state is. And how well are they doing that? Well, 70% of the American people are obese or overweight right now, and childhood obesity is going through the roof. ADHD drugs, labeling people as bipolar, basically making them crazy. And then TikTok, video games, and pornography is A-okay. Let's not bring that to the forefront and put that on the nightly news. Actually, let's just embed it in all the television commercials. So the definition of pornography is in music videos. In fact, they get pornography directors to do Britney Spears, other music videos. And so women. And so again, the levels of addiction, sugar is another one. And these create imbalances, right? Then people are unhappy and then they go and self-medicate, which creates more imbalances. Alcohol hangover. But again, you'll get the same thing, especially when you get up to my age, you'll get the same thing having a sleep hangover, not getting the proper amount of sleep. Or for me, it's like eating gluten, that I will have a food hangover from that. And so I think the more you can balance your skin with the fundamental principles, the punch, block, kick, as the masters in the martial arts teach, hydration, nutrition, sleep, movement, relationships, nature. Body requires nature, frequency and vibration for nature, grounding. Otherwise, you have all this wattage and voltage, all this new technology that's going inside the human body. Traditionally, you ground out a wire by plugging it into the ground, right? And so what makes you think that you're any different? You're an electromagnetic being. You have electricity and magnetism in your body. So you're going to want to harmonize that as much as possible. And nature solves the majority of the problems. Get into nature in as many facets, as many ways as you can throughout the days and weeks, because that will help you achieve balance. Get back to natural food, get back to natural water, get back to natural circadian rhythms, get back to optimizing natural breathing. You should breathe into your pelvic floor. Your diaphragm should open. And so if you don't know how to do this, then get with a practitioner that can help reprogram your breathing apparatus, reprogram your biomechanics, most people are trying to outrun their bad diet. But if they fine tune their nutrition, optimize their sleep hygiene, and manage and mitigate their stress, they won't have to go outrun their bad diet in the gym. They'll have fitness right out of the gate. And then anything you do in the gym is extra, right?
Well,
Extra expertise.
And everything feeds off of each other too. If I'm eating healthy, I'm exercising. If I'm exercising, I want to eat. If I eat healthy, I want to exercise. If my relationships are solid and I'm not putting myself in stressful situations, I don't want to act out and overeat, which you talked about, the sleep hangover. Occasionally I'll eat a bunch of cake or pie or nothing but cake or something like that. And I'll tell you what, I feel it the next day. And that's kind of the point. I think it's a good place to be at, like totally aware of it. And years ago or 15 years ago, had I eaten a bunch of cake and pie and ice cream, I probably wouldn't have noticed the next day. But I noticed today because everything is so fine-tuned. And I think that's a good place to be at.
Yes, a good place to be at is cognition and awareness as the #1 step. And then from there, building out as much balance into your lifestyle.
If you got value from this video, if you heard what you needed to hear, be sure to like it. Comment if you've got a question or you have something to say. Subscribe to the channel. Camelback Recovery provides treatment services for people struggling with mental health, mental illness, addiction, alcoholism, whatever it may be. So if you or a loved one is struggling and you need some guidance and you need some direction, reach out to us. Our contact information is down below, or you can go to our website, camelbackrecovery.com, whether it be detox, inpatient treatment, outpatient treatment, sober living, recovery coaching, sober companion services, whatever it may be. Like I said, we can either help you or make sure that you get sent in the right direction. We help people all over the country, all over the world for that matter. I'll see you on the next video.